of tune. Hello and welcome to episode 10 of Xendergarten. Today, I'm your host, I guess, that shaman, and today we're joined by Uma, Tristan Bay, Inthar, and Ground. The best introduction I could have given in any world.
It's been a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Umo, what's the issue with 9B? Didn't it get folded into some quantum pocket dimension? You couldn't get it out.
Um yeah, about that. So, a funny thing happened on the way to Lake Doramos. I had just published episode 9A, and I was heading there because I said, hey, why don't we have an IRL Xendergarten at Lake Doramos? I already said live at Lake Doramos, it just makes sense. But then the United States kinda decided to delete all of the back states using new developments in quantum physics, of course. So I basically didn't exist for several months. And the fun fact about not existing is there's nothing, and since you don't exist, it's not even possible to experience non existence. So I it felt like I passed out, and I woke up, and it was several months later when someone finally pulled me out. And, yeah. So, but yeah, I'm here now. Hi.
Umo forgot to download the files before they got deleted, and I forgot to remind him, and so they got deleted. Oops. I'm always so paranoid about it, but paranoid doesn't really work when I'm not the person downloading it. But anyway, we're not going to talk about that.
Yeah, if it's not you, it's just like ADHD garble. That's how it works.
Hey, that's what's been going on in my brain, probably, I would assume. I bought $320 worth of Eisenhower dollars.
What about $2 bills? Yeah, I know you have a lot of those too, right?
I actually can't seem to get them right now because the bank that my bank orders their money from ran out of $2 bills. I order ahead of time, so they have time to get the $2 bills from their correspondent bank. And that bank ran out.
Maybe that Discord server that you started is more successful than you think it is.
No, I think Ground's just obsessed.
Yeah, everyone's taking the $2 bills out. No, I'm crazy, but I swear it's not. Sure, okay, fine. Maybe I am a little bit obsessed about my $1 coins and my $2 bills, but I have been using $1 coins for over a year, so it's not out of nowhere. I use $1 coins and $2 bills a lot. I think that they make more sense as currency. I got a whole bunch of theory about it in the server that I created for it. It's called DBOP, which is short for the Dollar Bill Obliteration Program. It's about removing the, in my opinion, not worth enough to be useful $1 bill from circulation in the United States and replacing it with the better $1 coin and filling in the gap because, that would be $4 coins to the next denomination up, the $5 bill. And that's too many to have those heavy coins. So you start using $2 bills, and there you go. Dbop is officially partnered with Xendergarten, and so the join link should be available in the description.
Yay. Yeah, dollar bills are too, what's the word? Flimsy. They degrade too easily.
Every time I get a dollar bill in my wallet that's like 2017, it's always torn to shreds. Meanwhile, the 2017 $2 bills are pristine.
Maybe they're just not used as much. They never leave the bank. That, conspiracy theory. The reason why they're like that is because banks are just hiding them and they don't want to give them out. Like, for example, you went to the bank and you couldn't get any $2 bills. That's because even though they do have them, they just don't want to give them out and they're lying to you because they want all the $2 bills. That's probably why. Is that right?
It's kind of funny, actually, that there are about half as many twos in circulation as there are tens, but people don't spend twos as often because they think they're rare, and they're not. You can just go to the bank and get them, usually.
Actually, I have an interesting question. can't like $1 get you at least like instant noodles or something?
It can get you one yeah, it can get you a few packs of instant noodles or, like, a few
Okay.
bananas. But, like, those are grocery store items. If you go to most stores, department stores or convenience stores, you're not gonna find anything for less than $1 with tax added on top of it.
It can get you 14 M3 nuts at Winks Hardware.
Dude, that's awesome. I love hardware stores. Oh my gosh,
Nice.
I'm the worst to do errands with because I love office stores and hardware stores. And so when I go with Elliot, who might have shown up on the podcast at some point, he absolutely hates it because I go into the office store and I spend forever because I spend too much time looking at the different types of envelopes they have.
Speaking of office stores, that reminds me about how relatively recently I bought like just a pack of rolls of bond paper because I wanted to use them to make like higher order hexaflexagons. That's just a really random thing.
Like higher dimensional or just
No,
like
higher order, because there's the trihexaflexagon, which has 3 faces, and then the hexaflexagon, which has 6 faces, and then you can keep going. You can have one with 12, 24, 48, 96, theoretically. But the problem is the paper gets like exponentially thicker, so you have to be careful.
yes. Yeah, it's been a while since I like saw hexaflexagons. Like I don't exactly remember what they look like, but
I've been aware of hexaflexagons for several years at least. It's been a while, and I still don't know what they are. and so probably maybe don't explain them. Do you want to explain them on the podcast? I don't know.
I think they were invented by the YouTuber V Heart.
Vihart? Is it Vihart? It is. I remember the original video. That's got to be like 10 years old, eh?
Probably maybe more even.
Yeah. Like, I'm pretty sure Vihart's video actually explains, like, who invented hexaflexagons, which, for
Okay.
anyone wondering, basically, you take a paper strip, you fold it into a bunch of equilateral triangles, you fold them up into a twisty loop, and then you can flex the hex. That's why it's called a hexaflexagon.
Oh, that's cool.
Wow.
Yeah.
That was the raspiest wow I've ever said. I'm a smoker voice maxing.
I actually did something similar recently. So, you know those like Sonobe modules that you can make like in origami where you just fold like pieces of paper the same way and you just kind of like put like the tip of one thing into the pouch of the other thing and you can make these like star icosahedron-ish things and some other stuff with them too. It's modular origami. I might take a picture of mine to share for the podcast.
Let me just say from experience that modular origami takes a lot of time and patience. So, I mean, you might want to put something on in the background while you do modular origami. And if you're going to put something on in the background, it might as well be Xendergarten.
What does modular part mean? Made of like little parts.
Yes, it's made out of the same little modules.
Okay.
So you just stick
Yeah.
them
I
together.
don't know. I got Legos. Is probably easier.
Yeah, it's like building origami Legos kind of, but they're not Lego shaped typically.
I went to the dollar store today and found a knockoff Lego set with 10 pieces, and I couldn't tell what it was supposed to be until I looked at the title on the box.
What
was
was
it
it
just like-
supposed to be?
It was I guess some sort of aquatic dinosaur. It's 10 pieces, they're all the same color. You know, it's kind of hard.
Sounds awesome. Sounds like a piece of art.
I love going to oh my gosh, Elliot and I have a new hobby, and it's going to stores like big box department stores or dollar stores, and just buying uh, dumb toys from there, especially the mystery boxes. Like, I, I love that sort of thing so much. You never know what you're gonna get, and it's usually gonna be fun, and it is especially fun if you're high while you're doing it. Oh my gosh. Although it does look very embarrassing, especially when the cashier has to spend like a solid minute making sure my money is real before accepting it, and we just have to kind of sit there at the register while people behind us wait and stare at the stuff that we just bought. It's fun. It's real fun.
Sounds awesome. Sounds really awesome.
Hey, if I'm trapped in consumerism, I might as well enjoy it a little bit.
Someone left a comment on one of my songs. They're basically complaining about it, like, being essentially 12-tone music, but, like, the notes aren't detuned from 12 EDO enough, and they're saying, "OMG YJYA Switch 7 by Aphex Twin is a good example of more extreme microtonal electronica." Okay, but does Aphex Twin actually use, like, structured, music theory in his microtonality, or is it like
That's so funny. Hey, I could play something more microtonal than you. Watch me. And then you just kind of take you take your piano key and just kind of hit random strings with it. maybe maybe you dump the piano in water.
you go to Scale Workshop, hit randomize, and then that's your scale?
Actually, sounds like an interesting challenge, to be honest.
I've been trying really hard lately to simplify, I guess, my approach to music and Zen because started I joined a 12 music server first, and then I started working more intently on music I write for my band. And I don't know, something changed in me recently where I've started writing more interesting chord progressions. And I thought it was just that 12 was better for that. And I was like, oh no, am I never going to do Zen again? I got to start doing 12, I guess, because it's just more efficient. I can write better chords. And then I decided, okay, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to write something in 27, which is my most tried and tested tuning. It's one that I have never stopped being interested in since I started. And it pretty much sounds the same. Like, I can write similar qualities of interesting chord progressions. I think what happened actually was that I was so blinded by the options available to me with Zen that I didn't really think about how I was going to make my chord progressions more interesting. And so when I was stuck in 12, I realized the ways that I could make more subversive chord progressions. And so now that I've learned that skill, apparently I can apply it to other tunings. But I'm still going to be sticking to 27 for a bit, just so I can really get a feel for it like I have with 12.
I've also been like getting more interested in 27 as a theorist because of the black tie Aberrismic scale which is available in it, and it's how its a lot of qualities could be of use. And uh, to start, like I started to like investigate its contrapuntal properties it's using counterpoint that is. And um first I started with the observation that you have something of an analog to like parallel thirds and sixths with like parallel three steps and parallel seven steps. And the interesting thing is some of them actually become dissonant, like the B to E minus and ground fault Aberrismic notation, and like then that goes up to C sharp minus E, which is a 6 to 5 minor third. And reading and you have like these leading Aberrismas in several like places, and that's pretty interesting too. I think like algorithms in general can especially in contrary motion, which classical counterpoint is supposed to emphasize a lot anyway. I think that especially like contrary motion is like it's one context where algorithms can sound good, and like I have had several examples of like how like you can like resolve to several a couple of degrees.
The way that you were describing 27 Ito and what it's good for is like pretty similar actually to the reason that I like it so much. I don't do really a lot of counterpoint, but it is fascinating to me that my enjoyment of 27 Ito's pental harmony with like neo-gothic melody in that sort of black die scale is useful in two entirely different ways. Uh, and the leading Aberrismus is something that I've never even considered at all. And so I actually really appreciate your perspective on counterpoint here. This is a scale that I still have a lot to learn about, even though I use it all the time. And I am also a little flattered that you called it my Aberrismic notation. Like, I like that. I like the sound of that. I mean, if that's what if that's what I've been calling it, then if that's what I've been using a lot, then sure, calling it grounds Aberrismic notation, I'm okay with that.
I just listened to the thing. I actually think it sounds like kind of like background music that you could use for like a slightly uh, where everybody's like slightly insane. Like a scene where everybody's slightly insane, I think.
Yeah, I get the same vibes as well.
I'm always flattered when some people describe a snippet of mine and say that it has some emotional content because I'm kind of bad at us picking an emotional content and putting it in music.
To be honest, it made me want to hear like a full on like fugue with this
Yeah.
style of counterpoint.
It really just sounds like your style in black die in 27 Eno. That's so cool, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love it too. Good job, Inthar.
Yeah, that's neat.
Yeah, it was originally an overtonic fugue and I retuned it to black tie because I couldn't think of a better thing to do.
God, the one reason why like I don't like 27 that much is because of its sharp 5/4. Like it's got the same one as 12.
But that's the reason I like it.
I mean, sure, it has a good 6/5 because the 3/2 is also sharp. But yeah, I like 5/4s, which are a bit closer to just.
See, one of the important things about Aberrismic theory is warping the tunings of different intervals in an Aberrismic scale, in a rank 3 scale, using vowels and such. And 27 is like basically perfectly optimized to give you like a decent enough pental harmony, right? Because you have the sharp 5, sure, but you also have the sharp 3. And those fit into a chord pretty well. But then you also have like this extremely narrow 89 cents 16/15. And that is a really useful juxtaposition.
Yeah, well, I don't know, maybe have like a wide 28/27. Try something like that.
I don't use super high limits like that. I wouldn't know. What's the highest prime in that? 53?
Actually, is it two steps of 27, like the 16/15?
2 steps of 27 is 89
Yeah.
cents, yeah, because they're 44.4 repeating cents steps.
Okay, yeah, I actually, yeah, makes a lot of sense.
So 28/27 is also flattened, I think, in 27. Because I think it's just one step.
Another type of contour emotion, which was like more like medieval, is like resolving 444.4% a sharp super major third into opening that to a perfect fifth. That's possible at several places, like with the Radiant like mode and with the Phrygian like mode. But like I don't think like medieval is like the only place you could use it. It can also be used for in other places. other styles, but for one, it's not necessarily the final or final or like a strong like pause. And also, like I should just like talk about like just one more rule. I can't, which I like considered. For example, when traversing a major third in like do re mi or mi re do, you should try to go up by 1 to 1, 9 to 8, 5 to 4, not 1 to 1, 10 to 9, 5 to 4. And when descending, you go 5 to 4, 10 to 9, 1 to 1 instead of 5 to 4, 9 to 8, 1 to 1. Except when like harmonic considerations should dictate the opposite, like when you would get a comma mistuned octave or fifth or something like that, and when that's not desired.
Can I ask why it's better to start with the larger interval? It was in my preference, I think, to start with the smaller interval. It just felt more right to me.
I think it's not always better to be fair, but yeah, I like actually 1 to 1, 10 to 9, 5 to 4 ascending, actually.
I'm just sort of wondering why you have a preference that is different from mine. I'm just trying to learn.
I really don't like 5 to 4, 9 to 8, especially sharp 9 to 8 and 1 to 1, 1 to 1 for some reason when it goes that way.
Actually, I think what I do is I generally have the smaller interval on the bottom, regardless of which direction I'm going in.
Okay.
So it kind of lines up with what you're saying, but it's different based on the direction. I'm sorry I didn't specify.
Actually, this talk about 27 Ito has me curious. Have you ever tried using 27 Ito to approximate 18 Ito since they both have 9 Ito in common?
Oh, not even close. No. Uh, I never even use the 9 Ito subset for 27, except for maybe my quasi anti-diatonic scale. I think there's a pretty good tuning in 27, something like that. But I generally don't because it's just so different.
Yeah, I was just curious. I guess I was thinking in my head, like, if there was a way to take some of the crunchiness of 18 Ito and sort of turn that into 27 Ito for like some extra dissonance. But I don't know.
I don't think it's good, really, that they're both multiples of 3. There is something similar to this that you're describing. There is semi-equalized Armadou, which Armadou is it's an armatonic scale, right? Mavilla 9, basically, in 16 Ito. And then you
Yeah.
multiply that by 2 to get the 32 Ito version, and then subtract 1 note to make all the notes sound nicer in 31. I can't imagine that like an 18 Ito Naratonic scale would really work that well when translated to 22 because 27 cripes. Uh because you're always going to end up with a step that is actually let me think about this. Let me think about this. Sorry. Huh. I actually don't know how that would work out now that I think about it. I'm thinking like maybe I'll have an issue where one of the steps is inevitably just an aberrisma, which doesn't work as well as a semitone unless it's in the right spot, like in the 27 Ito archidiatonic scale. But it might be larger instead. I will get back to you on this in a different episode.
This is fun. I started the 27 Anirotonic conspiracy.
And I
Yes.
just wanted to say before the monologue is like fully done is just that it is honestly really beautiful to see people use the scales that I am so interested in a way that I never would use them. I love hearing all these new perspectives, and it's like it makes me really excited to be working on like this is I think the point where I'm starting to realize like this isn't just a new field of music theory because I said so. This is a new field of music theory because it's actually something different. And will always have to study your work, Inthar, because there is just so much that I can get from it.
Yeah.
Oh, thanks.
I wanted to talk about a couple of things that were on my mind lately. I wanted to get back to that comment that I got on YouTube, and they were saying, like, it's not microtonal sounding enough. Is it really possible for a subtly microtonal scale to sound Zen harmonic or to be Zen harmonic?
I think there's a few different ways. Um, Comma pumps are probably kind of a cheat code because it's something that's completely impossible in 12 with any sort of like reasonably aberrisma sized comma. And then you also might have levels of concordance that are impossible with 12 but there are adaptive tuning systems that might make that sort of thing possible even if you're using 12 in theory. I don't know, does anyone else have an idea?
But what if you just use like a 12 tone system, like a 12 note JI scale that's like a detempering of 12 EDO?
Damn, that's a hard question. Actually, would we consider a barbershop quartet to be Zen harmonic in any way?
Yeah, it's kind of a spectrum, right? Because it's like microtonal, because it is intentionally detuning that note, but it's not really Zen harmonic.
Yeah, but barbershop quartets go for like pure 7 limit JI and even sometimes 11, but only sometimes. But would we consider them Zen harmonic? I'm not sure. On the one hand, when voices go 4, 5, 6, 7, it sounds like nothing you can hear in any other 12 Ida context. But on the other hand, do they consider themselves to be Zen harmonic? I don't think so.
So I am going to go by my definition of Zen harmonic, which is specifically the Western musical movement coming out of the 70s that was pioneered by people like Irv Wilson. Because barbershop music doesn't come out of that. This is like, we are all modern Western Zen harmonists, which is, I think, different enough. But barbershop music is definitely microtonal. It uses, I guess I could call them blue notes, right?
Yeah.
Which comes out of probably I I don't know. I don't want to say anything because I might be totally wrong, but it seems like it's something that would come out of early jazz. But I don't know how long barbershop's been around. I mean, well, people always got to get their beard and their haircut.
My thoughts on this topic is I think in a lot of cases, yes, you can make a definition of what counts as Zen harmonic and what doesn't count as Zen harmonic. But I think ultimately what is Zen harmonic is just kind of based more on a feeling than an exact science. Because I think it literally just boils down to like something fresh that you've never heard before, specifically based on the way that it's tuned. And like barbershop might not really feel as fresh because it's been around for a long time, but purposefully detuning your synths to something as simple as 19 Edo mean tone, for example, might still be Zen harmonic because it's a fresh sound that not many people have heard before that is derived from how it's tuned. I don't know. That's just my thoughts on it.
What about something even more subtle, like, in fact, the exact song that comment was left on was where I used a scale that is a detempered parapith type scale. So it has 14 over 11 in it, and 21 over 11, and 13 over 11. Things that are close to 12 EDO, but they are a bit more exaggerated in terms of like compared to Pythagorean or how 12 represents Pythagorean. It's a positive temperament. Well, it's actually JI, but it comes from a positive temperament, whereas 12 EDO is I guess you would say a negative temperament because it tunes 3/2 slightly flat.
I think it's all a spectrum, a tuning spectrum. No, I think it's all a spectrum in the way that you classify how zen something is. Because, like, this is like some sort of neo Gothic type scale, and it definitely will sound different from 12. But how different it sounds from 12 does depend on the instrumentation. And then you got stuff like Pythagorean tuning or like sixth comma mean tone. And so really, I'm not sure. I think it's definitely possible to make a detempered parapith scale sound more zen, but I think instrumentation leads to a lot of variation in that.
Yeah.
Also, you mentioned 21 over 11, and that is an interval that I have never considered once in my life. And I had to real quick pull out my calculator and see how many cents it was. It was 1,119 cents, by the way.
I mean, that's not too far off.
It's still 19 cents away. That's still an audible comma.
Yeah. I mean, the pentacircle is technically an audible comma, right? That's sitting at around 10 cents.
Again, it's a spectrum.
And that's the difference between 81/64 and 14/11.
I would say that the bottom boundary for a good aberrisma is like maybe 25 cents or something like that.
What about 53?
Yeah, there's a reason I don't use 53. Actually, there's multiple. It is on paper very good tuning. It has so many aberrismic scales, and I don't like how big it is and how small the aberrismas are. In black die and diasem, at least, the others are a little different for the quasi diatonic scales.
You could use two-step aberrismas, maybe.
That makes it very complicated. I tried to do this in 46, which also it has like a what 26-cent aberrisma, something like that. And just doesn't work out with the interval logic. Like that's part of why the quasi diatonic aberrismic scales that I found are so good is because they work out really elegantly mathematically. And when you try to distort things with not using like vowels or anything, but distorting them by changing the number of steps, it completely throws the math out the window most of the time.
Yeah, I mean, regular musicians, do they even care about math, though?
No, not really.
Well, I care about math because I'm a nerd and I'm going to keep caring about math and you can't stop me.
All of us are nerds.
Of course.
I was just thinking about like what can qualify as Zen harmonic piece of music, and I came to a conclusion that it is definitely a spectrum. I agree with Grounton about the spectrum thing, but I think there are three possible qualities that definitely like that are solidly make can solidly make your music be considered Zen harmonic. The music piece is required to either have a chord, which is definitely not possible in 12, to the point of like where even some analogs of this chord are not possible in 12. Or it should have some sort of voice leading, not possible in 12. Like, for example, uh, minor third to major third in contrary motion, not possible in 12. Or or a melody which is definitely not possible in 12, like colorblind.
I like that. I like that system actually, and I think maybe I should write it down afterwards, put it on the screen because that is a pretty good guideline actually for me and I assume some other people who are writing Zen harmonic music or in a Zen harmonic tuning system and just feel like they're not quite making it interesting enough. Because I really have to justify my use of a larger and larger tuning system. Even 27, I'm like, if I don't fit enough aberrismas in here. If I don't hit my aberrisma quota, I'm gonna die.
It kind of sounds like you're talking about like something corporate, or maybe even like you're diabetic and you need like enough Aberrisma like injections each day.
I'm not diabetic, I'm diatonic.
Wow.
No, there's an episode title, Aberrismic Injections.
That's the name of my next album.
Aberrismic injections.
I choked on my own throat there. I don't even know how that's possible.
You're choking on an Aberrisma, probably.